All right, so today I gave my blessing to go ahead and take profits in the stock market. That doesn't mean that the stock market has necessarily topped, but we entered back here when the market completed this swing, when the daily cycle was in the timing band for a daily cycle low, and we've been holding our positions the whole time. My recommendation was either the QQQ uh, or the uh, or the semiconductors, the SOXX, or if somebody is willing to use leverage, you could have traded TQQ Q or the um, SOXL for this trade. Today we tested the all-time highs, full test, and that was the point at which I suggested, if a trader was happy with their profits, and I don't know how they couldn't be. We got in back here and have ridden this entire rally all the way up to here. Um, at this point, you made an insane amount of money on this rally in a very short period of time. And like I said, yes, it may still go higher, but you know, who cares really? You've made an incredible amount of money. So um, my thought was to go ahead and lock up those gains, and then you'll be in cash and you'll be ready for when something else sets up to be a good potential trending change. Now I don't know when this is going to set up, but I think it will at some point. Um, Energy, we're getting pretty close to this $40 resistance zone, and granted, I really never expected oil to drop back below $40 again. But then again, I didn't expect that politicians would do anything as stupid as closing down the global economy for 3 months. So yeah, I'm going to give myself a pass on that one. That was not something I would have ever imagined could have happened. So obviously the reason why oil broke below that $40 support zone, and we're clearly now starting an intermediate degree rally. We're getting pretty close to this resistance zone. So I have to think at some point here, oil's going to give us a pullback, something that drops below the 10-day moving average and then, holds below it or goes far enough below it to turn this moving average back down. And then maybe that might be a good um, sector to redeploy the capital and the profits that we've made on the stock market trade. I don't want to chase this move higher right now, and it may still go higher, but at some point it's going to give us a pullback, and we've got confirmation that this is an intermediate and almost certainly a 3-year cycle low in oil and in the CRB. So um, any pullback here should be a buying opportunity. So I would just be content to, be happy with the profits we made in the stock market. While everybody else has been trying to call a top all the way up and missing one of the most spectacular rallies uh, in years, if not in history, we've ridden that move, almost from the exact bottom to the recent test of the all-time highs, and now we can take some profits and then wait for something else to set up. And like I said, this is a potential um, area that we could put that money back to work once we get some kind of correction in this market. Um, Moving on to the gold trade, we're so far anyway, we're still just stuck in this box. Um, my feeling is that gold, the odds are still very, very much in favor that this will eventually break out of the box. But like I said, this is what happens with these sideways consolidations. They just go on and on and on until everybody finally just gets frustrated and just gives up. And then once everybody gives up, that's when they break out and move. And often it's with some kind of explosive move so that the market becomes overbought very quickly, and then traders, um, because they become conditioned to this choppiness, they can't pull the trigger on the breakout, and then very often what happens is it just runs away from you. Um, that's kind of what happened right here when we broke out of this. It just ran away from traders. Same thing, this sideways consolidation, when it finally broke out, it just ran away and you never got a chance to get back in. So, we're just keeping an eye on this. It's just, like I said, it's just frustrating people. It's just not going anywhere. Uh, and that's what has to happen. And eventually everybody just gives up, throws in the towel. And then that's when you get the breakout. And then off to the races with people not being able to bring themselves to chase, and then they miss the move. And then finally, the dollar. And I'll say this again: there's people like Martin Armstrong that have been talking up the dollar for years, and it's just not doing it. We've broken down out of this sideways churn here. I don't think the ECB is going to be able to rescue this market, and this nonsense that the ECB is trying to prop up the euro is complete, utterly ridiculous. The ECB, all countries want a weak currency, not a strong currency. So there's absolutely nothing to this notion that the ECB is trying to prop up the euro. They are doing no such thing. They want the euro lower, not higher, um, and it's just not doing it. The euro is rallying, the dollar is collapsing. We're moving into the timing band for the dollar to head down into its 3-year cycle low. So I'm sure the ECB would love to try and turn the euro back down, but it just doesn't look like it's going to happen to me. I think they've lost control of the currencies, and this breakdown from this range is just probably a prelude to a lot more pain in the weeks and probably a month or two ahead. This intermediate cycle is still fairly young, should still have another maybe 8 to 10 weeks to run before we get a final bottom, and this should break below this intermediate cycle low during this intermediate decline. Although granted, at some point there's got to be a bounce here. I just don't think the bounce is going to get any. It's not going to get any traction. I think the second it becomes slightly overbought on the short term, then it's going to top roll over and then make another leg lower. So the currencies are always the hardest for me to trade, and I just don't trade them anymore. There's just too much central bank manipulation. But so far, I've been correct on gold. I've been extremely correct on the stock market, and I've been right on the currencies as well. So at this point, we've taken profits on a very nice trade in the stock market, and we're just looking for or waiting for something to set up, probably oil, and then we'll redeploy that capital into another market. It's too late to chase the stock market. I'll put it that way. Sure, the stock markets may still have more upside, but we're 10 weeks into the rally, and we've already retested the all-time highs. We're starting to get stretched quite far above the moving averages again, and I don't like um, investing in something that's way overbought like that, even though it may still have a ways more to go. It's just too risky for me. We've made enough money, and we'll take that off the table and wait for something better to set up.